Have you ever felt that uneasy chill crawl up your spine when you're alone in the dark? That unsettling feeling that you might not be as alone as you believe? What happens when the shadows conceal something real? Usually, we dismiss it as imagination. Innumerable individuals worldwide have gone through experiences so horrifying that even years later, they find it difficult to describe. These are actual experiences that have been recorded and recalled by those who experienced them. Not only spectral tales told around a campfire. The boundaries between reality and nightmare are blurred by incidents such as haunted houses where tenants fled overnight, encounters on lonesome highways that defy reason, and ordinary people who suddenly found themselves confronting the inexplicable. One thing is for sure, regardless of your belief system, these terrifying stories will stay with you long after you've put them down. Prepare yourself for 5 real-life horror stories that might keep you up tonight. Grab a blanket and turn out the lights if you dare. Let's watch. 1. The House of Watchers. In Westfield, New Jersey in 2014, Derek and Maria Broaddus believed they had discovered their forever home. The lovely 6-bedroom home on Boulevard was ideal for their family's upbringing. However, when the couple started getting threatening messages from someone identifying themselves as the Watcher, their pleasure soon turned to fear. In a rather ominous tone, the first letter welcomed them to the area and said the house had been watched for decades. The messages quickly became more heated, referring to the couple's kids, calling them young blood, and inquiring as to whether they had filled the house with what it craves. Fear that someone close was observing the family's every step was sparked by the author's apparent intimate knowledge of their whereabouts. The police were contacted, but no suspect was ever found. Despite questioning neighbors, testing DNA, and even hiring private investigators, the Watcher was never apprehended. The Broadduses eventually sold the house at a loss because they were so afraid they never moved in. The mystery is still unsolved today. Because of a faceless stalker who lurks in the shadows, the Watcher House has come to represent how something as happy as purchasing a home can become a waking nightmare. 2. The Murders at Hinterkaifeck. In 1922, a secluded Bavarian hamlet known as Hinterkaifeck was the scene of one of Germany's most horrifying unsolved mysteries. The Grubers lived in seclusion. Andreas, his wife Cecilia, their daughter Victoria, her kids, and their maid. However, the family saw unsettling indications that someone was intruding in the weeks prior to their murders. They noticed tracks in the snow that led toward the house but not away, heard strange footsteps in the attic, and found strange objects like a newspaper that no one had bought. On March 31st, 1922, calamity occurred. Each of the 6 inhabitants was ruthlessly killed using a mattock, a kind of agricultural implement. Before killing them, the murderer enticed each of the 4 family members into the barn, one at a time. Within the house, the maid and young child were murdered. What happened next is what makes the case even more terrifying. Days after the killings, neighbors continued to notice smoke coming from the chimney. Meals were prepared, livestock were fed, and after the crime was committed, it was evident that someone lived in the house. Investigators discovered the horrific scene, but no sign of the murderer. Despite questioning more than 100 suspects, no one was ever found guilty. Over a century later, the case is still unresolved, leaving true crime fans to wonder if it was a stranger, a neighbor, or even a family member. Hinterkaifeck is one of the most sinister periods in the history of true crime because of the unresolved issues and unsettling foreshadowing. 3. The Silent Twin Pact. Welsh identical twins. June and Jennifer Gibbons were born in 1963 and rose to fame due to their peculiar and unnerving closeness. They spoke a secret language that no one else could understand and refused to talk to anybody else from an early age. Their behavior was described as unsettling by teachers, neighbors, and even family members who said it seemed as if the two were in another planet. Obsession developed from their silence. They isolated themselves from society and devoted most of their time to creating violent, gloomy fiction. Their relationship, which alternated between passionate competition and love, grew more poisonous. They even made an attempt to murder one another at one point. Their actions eventually turned into theft and arson, which resulted in their hospitalization at the high-security mental health facility, Broadmoor Hospital. The most terrifying turn of events occurred in 1993. According to reports, the twins had decided that one of them had to pass away in order for the other to lead a normal life. Under unknown reasons, Jennifer unexpectedly passed away from acute myocarditis, an inflammation of the heart. There were no poisons, medications, or medical explanations discovered. She seems to have wished herself to death. After her sister passed away, June, who had been left behind, started to fit in and enjoy a somewhat typical life. However, one of the most bizarre and unnerving psychological puzzles ever documented is the twins' eerie agreement and the unexplained death that followed. 4. The Green Man. The Green Man's story is one of the many urban legends that include a kernel of reality. In Pennsylvania, rumors of a scary figure spotted at night strolling over desolate roads persisted for decades. Some reported he had no face at all, while others stated he gleamed dimly. In contrast to most ghost stories, this one was based on Raymond Robinson, a genuine person. Robinson was severely electrocuted while climbing a power wire in 1919 when he was only 8 years old. Although he lived, the accident left him deformed, losing his right arm, nose, and eyes. Robinson decided to remain hidden throughout the day because he was unable to lead a typical public life because of the ongoing mockery. But at night, when it was dark, he would appreciate the freedom and silence of long treks down remote routes. Decades of ghost legends about a faceless man prowling the streets were stoked by the locals' horror at his appearance. Raymond, in spite of his terrifying legend, was gentle and unthreatening. However, his life became the subject of regional legend, solidifying his status as a tragic and terrifying person. The Green Man's tale demonstrates how genuine human misery may turn into myth, leaving behind an eerie fusion of fact and fiction that still terrifies people who go down pitch-black highways at night. 5. The Cecil Hotel and Elisa Lam. The Elisa Lam case is one of the most eerie contemporary mysteries. The 21-year-old Canadian student stayed at the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles in 2013, which is notorious for its troubled history. The hotel had seen murders, suicides, and even serial killers like Richard Ramirez throughout the years. However, Elisa's case turned out to be the most notorious of all. Elisa was observed acting strangely on security footage from the hotel elevator, hitting several buttons, entering and exiting, hiding in corners, and apparently conversing with an unidentified person. After going viral, the eerie footage sparked conjecture all across the world. Her body was found floating in one of the hotel's rooftop water tanks a few weeks later. Unaware that the water was tainted, guests had been bathing and drinking in it. How she got there was the greatest mystery. Accessing the tanks was challenging, necessitating alarm systems and closed entrances. Although many people didn't agree with the explanation, her death was ultimately determined to be an accidental drowning because there were no signs of fighting. Conspiracy theories even alleged otherworldly participation, while others suspected foul play and others thought she had a mental health incident. In the public's mind, the Elisa Lam case is still unresolved, and her creepy elevator clip is still among the most unsettling and inexplicable movies available online. Her terrible and terrifying demise is inextricably linked to the Cecil Hotel itself, which is already notorious. In conclusion, sometimes the real world is far frightening than fantasy. The Watcher House, the Hinterkaifeck murders, the Silent Twins, the Green Man, and Elisa Lam at the Cecil Hotel are 5 genuine stories that demonstrate how terror frequently lurks in everyday life. They make us face the disturbing reality that safety is never certain and leave us with more questions than answers. The most terrible monsters are sometimes not supernatural at all, but rather people, situations, or unsolvable puzzles. Thus, keep these tales in mind when you lay in bed and turn out the lights tonight. A legend continues to walk, a shadow continues to observe, and a mystery remains unresolved somewhere. And you might stay awake just thinking about it.